The sound of roaring motorcycles filled the air that sunny afternoon. A group of leather-clad bikers had just pulled into the parking lot of a small-town diner when a tiny girl, no older than 6, came running toward them. Her face was red and streaked with tears. She stumbled as she ran, her little red dress fluttering in the breeze. "Please help," she cried. "They're beating my mama." The laughter and chatter among the bikers stopped instantly. In a heartbeat, what started as an ordinary afternoon ride turned into something that would change all of their lives forever. Hey everyone, welcome back to Whispers of Goodness, where we share real stories that remind us how powerful kindness can be. If you believe the world still has good people in it, make sure to subscribe, like, and share your thoughts in the comments below. Your support helps us keep spreading these true stories of compassion and courage. Now, let's dive into this unforgettable story of bravery, love, and kindness. It was a quiet Saturday afternoon in a small town just outside Nashville, Tennessee. The weather was perfect: blue skies, gentle wind, and the hum of engines rolling down Main Street. The local biker club, a group known as the Iron Saints, had gathered for their weekly charity ride. They weren't the rough, scary kind of bikers most people imagine. These were men and women who believed in helping veterans, kids in need, and anyone struggling to get by. Their leader, a big man named Jake, had a heart just as large as his frame. Tattoos covered his arms, but behind that tough exterior was someone who always believed in standing up for what was right. As the group parked their motorcycles in front of the diner to grab lunch, laughter filled the air. Then, out of nowhere, a little girl came running across the parking lot. Her face was covered in tears, and her small boots hit the pavement with desperate speed. Jake was the first to see her. He knelt down, his heart tightening at the sight. Hey, sweetheart," he said softly. "What's wrong?" The girl's words came out in broken sobs. "Please help my mama. They're hurting her." Jake's face went pale. The other bikers froze, looking around to make sure they'd heard right. "Who's hurting your mama?" he asked. "Two men," she said, pointing back toward a small, worn-down house just a few blocks away. "They're in our house. Please hurry." Without hesitation, Jake stood up and turned to his group. "Mount up," he ordered. "We've got a situation." The engines roared back to life. But this time it wasn't for a joyride, it was a rescue mission. The little girl climbed onto the back of Jake's bike, holding onto him tightly as they sped down the road. When they reached the small house, the bikers saw the front door hanging open. From inside, they could hear shouting, a woman's cry mixed with the angry voices of two men. Jake didn't think twice. He kicked the door open and stormed in, followed by two of his friends. Inside, they found a woman cornered against the wall. Her clothes were torn, her face bruised. Two men, now both drunk, were yelling at her, one of them raising his hand again. Jake's voice thundered through the room. "That's enough." The men turned, startled. They froze when they saw a wall of leather and tattoos filling the doorway. One of the bikers, a tall woman named Raven, stepped forward. "You two need to leave now." The men hesitated, but when they saw the other bikers lining up behind Jake, they backed off fast. Within seconds, they were gone, stumbling down the road, cursing under their breath. Jake turned to the woman, his expression softening. "Ma'am, you're safe now," he said gently. "Are you hurt?" The woman broke down in tears. The little girl ran into her arms, sobbing, "Mama." Jake knelt beside them, his voice breaking just a little. "You don't have to be afraid anymore," he said. "We're here." Over the next few hours, the bikers stayed with the woman and her daughter. They helped her call the police and made sure the men were arrested. They cleaned up the small living room, which had been torn apart during the fight. One of the bikers even fixed the broken door. When the officers arrived, they took statements and assured the woman that she and her daughter would be safe. But the bikers didn't stop there. Raven noticed that the fridge was nearly empty. "When's the last time you ate, hon?" she asked the woman. The woman shook her head, ashamed. "It's been a couple of days. Things have been rough." Within minutes, the bikers had split into teams as some went to the diner to grab food, others headed to the local grocery store. When they returned, they brought bags of groceries, fresh clothes, and even a few toys for the little girl. The woman couldn't stop crying. "Why are you doing this for us?" she asked softly. Jake smiled. Because someone once helped me when I needed it most, and now it's my turn to do the same. That night, Jake made a few calls. The Iron Saints had friends all over town, mechanics, nurses, even a few lawyers. Within a day, they'd found a safe shelter for the woman and her daughter to stay in temporarily. They also helped her file for a restraining order and get back on her feet. The next weekend, the club organized a community fundraiser. They set up tables outside the diner, grilled burgers, played music, and told everyone the story without revealing the woman's name. Of course, the town came together like never before. People donated food, money, and even helped fix up the woman's house. The little girl, once terrified and crying, was now smiling. She clung to Jake every time she saw him, calling him Mr. Bear. Jake would always laugh and lift her up on his shoulders, saying, "That's my brave little girl." Weeks passed, and life slowly returned to normal for the mother and daughter. But the story of that day, the day a frightened child ran to a group of bikers for help, spread far beyond their town. News outlets picked it up, calling it a miracle of kindness. Jake didn't think of it that way. When a reporter asked him why he did what he did, he said simply, "We just did what anyone with a heart should do." Kindness doesn't always wear a suit and tie. Sometimes it wears leather and rides a Harley. Months later, the woman and her daughter visited one of the Iron Saints charity events. The girl was wearing a tiny leather jacket that Jake had given her. When she saw him, she ran straight into his arms again, but this time, she wasn't crying. She was laughing. Jake knelt down, just like that first day, and smiled. "You doing okay, kiddo?" She nodded. "Mama says we're safe now, because of you." Jake shook his head. "Because of us," he said gently. "All of us." The bikers gathered around, cheering, and for a moment, it didn't matter who they were or what they looked like. What mattered was that kindness had won again. That day, a frightened little girl reminded everyone what real courage looks like, and a group of unexpected heroes reminded the world what true kindness means. Sometimes, help comes from the least likely places. It doesn't always arrive in a uniform or a shiny badge. Sometimes, it comes riding on two wheels, with tattoos and leather, and a heart full of goodness. Kindness doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to show up. So, the next time you see someone in trouble, remember this story. Remember that a simple act of courage, a moment of compassion, can change a life forever. If you were touched by this story, please take a moment to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs to be reminded that goodness is still alive in this world. Because here, on Whispers of Goodness, we believe that one act of kindness, and no matter how small, it can echo louder than 1,000 engines.